Thank you so much. I didn't understand any of that introduction to me or my career, so hopefully he didn't set me up for anything that I'm not expecting. So my name's Lisa Forte. I'm one of the partners at Red Goat Cybersecurity, and I'm someone who's really passionate about tech for good movements generally. One of the tech for good movements that I've been involved in has been Respect and Security, which launched this year. And it's a global initiative to try and stamp out hate, harassment, and abuse online in our industry, which is really, really important. But people often say to me, so I presume the way you got into cyber was you were a coder, you did computer science at university, you pursued that normal route into cyber. And that's not the case at all. I actually started my career at university studying law. I then went into working in counter-piracy operations off the coast of Somalia, to my parents' dismay. I don't think they were very entertained by that. And then I went into UK counter-terrorism intelligence, and then one of the UK police cybercrime units, and then finally, I am where I am today. So there's lots of journeys into cyber, and this is part of what I'm going to be discussing today. So why do we need diversity in cybersecurity? Why do we keep hearing that we need a more diverse workforce in cybersecurity? Well, the interesting thing about human beings is that we are a product of our experiences. Everything from the way we were brought up by our parents, the schools we went to, the friends we had, the games we played, the holidays we went on, all of those experiences shape us as individuals. They shape how we view risk and opportunity. And that diversity is what's so, so crucial for an industry like cybersecurity. For instance, research tells us that more diverse teams are more innovative. The more diverse a team is, the better their ability is to see different perspectives and come up with new ideas. The Harvard Business Review writes that diverse teams are also perform better and solve problems faster than teams that are just comprised of one type of individual. It's easier to recruit talent into our teams if we're more diverse as well. And interestingly, we have better customer service that we can offer our customers with more diversity. Again, this comes down to having that rich mix of individuals with different experiences from different cultures, different religions, different genders, every type of human being imaginable. And that comes to the last point, which is risk. And this is a really interesting one. So the more diverse we are, the better as a team we can view risk. And that's a lot of what we do in cybersecurity. So take, for example, in the UK at the moment, we have a number of very serious problems, one of which is the fact that women don't feel safe walking alone at night. We've had a very large influx of cases where women have been stabbed, they have been kidnapped, and then sadly, in a couple of cases recently, murdered. So when I talk to my female friends, they tell me I would never walk home at night by myself. Or they'll say, I'll walk home, but I'll walk with my keys in my hand to protect myself just in case. My male friends view that risk as much, much lower. They don't see it as a risk in the same way that my female friends see it as a risk. So if you were only talking to your male friends, you would think there was no danger whatsoever in the UK of walking home alone at night. If you were just talking to your female friends, you would think the danger was absolutely exponential and it was horrendous. And this is why we need diversity. There's a compelling story, and I don't know how true it is or how based in fact it is, that in the lead up to 9/11, the CIA and the FBI had actually looked at videos of Osama bin Laden. And they had evaluated them and sort of rated them as how risky they saw him as a threat actor. And they looked at the video, and these are predominantly white American males of a certain age. And they see him in a cave, and he's got what looks like sort of rags or old clothing on. And they deduce that this is probably not a threat. And this is probably somebody who's a bit eccentric, making a lot of noise, but ultimately not much substance behind it. The theory goes that had they had somebody of an Afghan nationality in that department, they'd have recognized the symbolism of the clothes that he was wearing and realized he was, in fact, an incredibly serious threat. And this is why we need diversity. We have different cultures, different religions, different genders who will view risk differently, and we can take a balance of that overall viewpoint to assess the actual risk. So what's this big problem then? Well, let's assume that for a perfect scenario, we would have 50% women and 50% men in cybersecurity. At the moment, across Europe, including the UK, that number sits around 20%, give or take. Spain is ever so slightly better, but we are still way short of 50%. We're nowhere near. And this is just simply too low from a gender perspective and a gender balance perspective. So we know from science and from research that, typically speaking, children form their preconceptions of what is a job for women and what is a job for men. And they do this really early on. By the age of 12, that is cemented in their brains. So if we haven't communicated to our young children that cybersecurity is a job for women, it is a great job for women, and we haven't done that early on, we won't be winning at this fight. To put that into perspective, in the United Kingdom, only 5% of girls study computer science. That's it. That's 5% who study it at school. Of those, only 1% take it further, which is a very, very serious problem, because we also know that many women who enter cybersecurity leave within the first year of starting their careers. So if you start to look at those numbers, they very quickly become really tragic. So what's this myth that's perpetuated about cybersecurity? Why are we not seeing loads of women kind of come into it? And I've done a lot of speaking to schools in the UK and to young girls at universities. And one of the things that keeps coming up is people think that women have a much higher mountain to climb than men to be successful. That's actually not the case. We're starting to see lots of women in more senior cyber roles across Europe, which is a really great thing to see. The other issue that I think we have with cybersecurity comes from Hollywood. And if you think about the last movie you watched that involved hackers, or IT people, or techies, we use this image of a young male, usually white, sitting in a basement with a hoodie on, not socializing, kind of on the outside of society, maybe doing something he shouldn't be doing, alone, in his basement, typing away. That's the image that we're pushing out in films in Hollywood to people of what the hacker community is, what the cybersecurity community is. So it obviously looks incredibly male-dominated, and it doesn't look particularly attractive to a lot of young girls, understandably so. You also see movies where we have the tech geeky girl. Think about what she looks like. She's never the powerful woman. She's never portrayed as the pretty sort of heroine of the story. She's always shy and awkward and off to the side. And again, this doesn't give out this image to young girls that cybersecurity is empowering and it's brilliant as a career. It sends the wrong message that we then can't compete with. The other issue we have in the industry is we talk a lot about stress and burnout, as we would call it in the UK. People in cybersecurity working insanely long hours. It's hugely competitive. People are burning out. They can't cope with the stress of working in this industry. So again, that's another message we're putting out to these young girls, and we're saying, this is what the industry's like. It's men in hoodies in basements who are burning out from stress. I'm not sure I'd have joined that industry. But it's a great industry to be a part of. So how do you become successful in cybersecurity? And a lot of people say to me, how do you start to build a brand, and how do you start to sort of create a career in this industry? I was on a mentoring call the other day, and I was talking to a group of people who were mainly women who were transitioning into cybersecurity from other industries. And they were sort of sitting there, and they were kind of looking a bit bored, and they were sort of, nothing was really going on. They weren't very animated in their face. And then I said to them, okay, let's stop thinking about cybersecurity for a moment. What's your passion? What are you really interested in? What really gets you fired up and excited? And all of a sudden, I noticed across the screen, all of their faces lit up. They started talking about horse riding or swimming or holidays they'd been on and things that they'd done, and suddenly they were like animated and really excited to talk about it. So I say to people, use that. I'm a climber. I'm also a caver, so I do a lot of that sort of rock climbing type stuff. And there's a lot of lessons that you can apply from climbing and risk assessment, risk management, risk mitigation into cyber. So if you talk about things you're passionate about, if you apply your passions to cybersecurity, passion is really persuasive. And as soon as you're passionate about something, it shows, and everyone becomes really, really engaged to it. But don't take my word for it. I asked some of my personal friends who are in cybersecurity what they thought the key skills were for women, or men for that matter, to be successful in this industry. So one of my friends, Holly, she said presentation skills were key. Presentation skills, being able to present your ideas to the board, be able to present your ideas to your user base, your employees, come to conferences and speak. My friend Regina said critical thinking skills, being able to look at data and ask, what is this actually telling me? What's actually happening on this network? Can I have the data to actually show that? Is this what it's actually saying? And my friend Sarah Armstrong-Smith, who's one of the chief security advisors at Microsoft, said it's all about thinking outside the box, coming up with new solutions to problems, looking at existing solutions to problems and thinking, is this actually working? Are we actually seeing results? And if not, how can we try something different? What do you think the common thread here is with all these three ideas? They're not technical. It's not about coding. It's not about looking at indicators of compromise. It's not about malware analysis. These are skills that aren't technical. These are skills that women especially excel at. You don't have to be technical to make a massive difference in this industry. And that's one of the really important messages to take away. So how do we go about selling this to our younger generations? So I had a really interesting experience a few weeks ago, and I was speaking to a school in the UK, and I was speaking to their kids, the young girls that are there. And I spoke to one of the teachers, and I said, how have you found the uptake of computer science, and, are the girls interested in engineering and technology? And he said something really strange to me. And he said, you know what? They all want to study law. And I thought, that's an interesting choice. And he said, you know why? There are a couple of lawyers in London who have put up Instagram accounts of their life. They're out having nice lunches, they're taking photos of going into court, and they're dressing up very smartly and looking the part, and they're posting all these pictures and videos of things they're doing and the training they're doing. And our students are on Instagram, and they're looking at these videos, and they're thinking, that's the sort of life I want. I want to be doing that. I want to look like that. I want that lifestyle. We're not doing that in cybersecurity. We're not selling what it's like to be in cybersecurity, the highlights of being in cybersecurity. We're not selling it, and we're definitely not selling it on the platforms that the young people are using. Here's one thing I've come to learn. It is all about marketing. In fact, most of cybersecurity comes down to really good marketing. Whether you have a great idea that you have to go and pitch to your boss, whether you have a great new idea to pitch to your users to make them more secure, or whether we're trying to sell a career in cybersecurity to these young people, it's all down to marketing. We need to be on the platforms that the young people are on. We need to be promoting it as a career that they look up to and think, wow, this is great, I want to be part of this. We need to tailor our message to them and change these stereotypes that they have created in their minds. It's not enough to sell it on LinkedIn or at these events where we're probably all in agreement that we have a problem. We need to be translating that message onto platforms like TikTok, onto platforms like Instagram, and selling it to those children. So, thank you very much. I hope I've left you with some ideas. I'm very grateful to be in Spain. I'll accept some questions as well, I think. No questions on Brexit, though. That's the line I draw. We don't talk about that.
Lisa, thank you very much. It was very impressive, your presentation. And when I'm thinking about particularly a woman who wants to change career, yeah? You just put some examples, but like for example, if you're more specialized in the sort of psychology fields or sort of emotional intelligence, are there a lot of opportunities within that field?
Yeah, there's loads of opportunities in cyber generally. I mean, for example, I'm not particularly technical as an individual. A lot of what I do in my professional life is running crisis simulations for companies. So I'll simulate a cyber attack and see how well that company deals with that cyber attack. Those skills that you need to be able to do that aren't technical. I don't need to be able to code to do that well. So I think this is the other big myth that we've perpetuated in our industry, that you have to be this super technical coder in order to have any value. But that's just not the case. There's loads of roles in risk management, business continuity, incident response that don't involve that at all. And I think it's really important that we start getting that message across to young people. Any other questions? We have a question over here.
Thank you so much for all the speech. I really love it. I have a question because you have said that cybersecurity should be or must be in young platforms such as Instagram or TikTok, but don't you think it would be a good idea to get closer to younger generations, to go to schools and talk about cybersecurity? For example, if you go to high schools or even schools, primary schools, elementary schools, just to make a small idea to these younger generations and make an impact, because in my opinion, I think it's really important to make a concern about cybersecurity and also about the importance. And younger generations, I can see it with my small brother, they don't think that Instagram is an important thing. They just think, okay, I upload a picture and that's it. And there are a lot of problems with pictures because they don't know many of the problems with older people or other aspects. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There are lots of problems with Instagram and social media, 100%, but we need to be able to reach a large quantity of people, and we need to do that in the way that on platforms they use. They're not using LinkedIn. They're not using some of the platforms that people our age are using. We have to recognize that and tailor our message and how we deliver that message to them and how they're using it. But I completely agree. In a perfect world, we would be going into schools, we would be running workshops, we would be doing all of that sort of stuff. Obviously, with COVID, that has become a bit problematic, to say the least. But yes, I totally agree. It would be ideal to be able to do that. Are there any other questions before we finish? If not, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for welcoming me to Spain. It's a beautiful country, and everyone has been so wonderful and so friendly. So thank you very much.